as our website 19. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay, listen to me, everyone. We can talk about how to do the research for the second question on the TMA in a bit. Let's start with session 3 of book 2. Today we're going to cover sessions 3 and 4, and then we can discuss any questions that you have regarding the TMA. Okay, especially question 2 because it requires research and referencing, so you have to make sure that everything is correct, especially that reference is graded in the second question. 2 points for the in-text referencing, 2 points for the list of references at the end. They are complementary, they complement each other. They're not separate, meaning that if I put reference inside the text, in-text citation, they don't take the place of the list of reference at the end. Okay? And I think logically, if I only have a list of reference, okay, at the end of my essay, how will I know which sentence or which idea or which paragraph belongs to which author below? So the in-text reference, the in-text citation, which you will put next to each idea that is not yours, between parentheses like the name of the author and the date of publication, and then you put the full reference below, then I know that this full reference is for this paragraph, this full reference is for that paragraph or that sentence or that section. Okay? All right? No. Please, you must follow the Harvard style of referencing, right? Which we covered in book 3, session 6, which you also have a presentation about, a PowerPoint presentation that is available on Moodle for you under your courses, right? On the left, you have your courses, and then you have the Harvard referencing system, okay? It's a comprehensive, exhaustive presentation of everything that you might need. And there is more than you need there, because in your TMA for the LB160, you're required to bring information from 2 sources. So you are limited. You don't need all that information about the Harvard referencing system, but you should know them. Part of your academic life, you need to know how to do proper referencing. Anyways, I can help you with it once you start with your actual research, and you can show me, and I can tell you how we can go about it. Okay, so let us continue with session 3 today. Session 3, book 3, self-evaluation documents. All right, you remember the focus of book 3 was how to produce influential documents. Same as book 2 focused on how to produce successful essays, book 3 focuses on how to produce influential documents. And in my opinion, book 3 is of the most importance to you as students who will graduate and start working, because it has the types of reports that you will be asked to write once you graduate. For example, how to write a professional email, how to write a report, how to write a problem solution report, how to write self-evaluation documents, and so on. And all of these, you will need them once you graduate. Of course, we'll practice how to do them here, and once you graduate, you'll be ready to write them. Okay? So self-evaluation documents. In this session, you will read and write about performance evaluation reports. There are 3 situations in which such texts are produced. And why do we write performance evaluation reports? Performance, right? The way how you are doing on a certain course or in a certain job. There are 3 instances where we can find that we are asked to write such texts. 1, on business studies courses, students are asked to write skills audit reports to record their development during the course. Usually, at the end of each course, a student is asked to evaluate himself within the context of the course. Meaning, you ask questions similar to the SWOT analysis, but to yourself about the course. For example, what were my weaknesses at the beginning of the course? What is it that I didn't know how to do at the beginning of the course? How did I face this problem? What did I do to try to solve this problem? What were the steps that I took to try to solve this problem? Was I successful? Okay? Number 2, when applying for jobs, applicants write a personal statement supporting their application. And more, you probably have already noticed, if you are in the job market already, that a personal statement, a cover letter, a letter of motivation, different names for the same thing, is becoming even more important than your CV, your cover letter, your CV, right? Where you state your education, experience, and so on. Because a personal statement specifically addresses the job that you are applying. In it, you will need to say, what makes you special for this job? Why should they hire you for this job? What are your motivation? What are your aspirations regarding this particular job that you are applying? So for the people who are going to hire you, this shows more about you than your CV. The CV is if you want, a neutral piece of information, right? Your education, your experience, and so on. But in the cover letter, you will put of yourself in it. You will say what were your dreams, for example. What are your dreams? How are you fit for this job? Why should they hire you and not someone else? And so on. The third place where we can find the performance evaluation reports is the workplace. We call it an appraisal assessment reports, which are part of a continuing professional development and performance management. Hopefully, when you graduate and you can land a much more important job than the one that you have, for example, at the moment, if you work for a big organization, a big company, especially international companies, they usually evaluate their employees every year. Every year, there's a process of evaluation that takes place. Okay, and based on that, usually you are given bonuses, you are given grades which add up to your bonuses. You know, some companies have grade 1 employees, grade 2 employees, and so on, and the salary is deferred. Okay? But usually when you start your job, they don't tell you that you will be doing such a thing. So you know that usually any job, the first 3 months are probation period. It's the time where they get to know you and you get to know them.
After that
you haven't signed a contract, you're not bound to anything yet. After that 3 months is over, they usually do an evaluation. At this point, it's like as if you're writing an essay about yourself. Here, all the skills that you have taken in book 2, how to write a successful essay, and all the skills that we're taking now, you will have to exhibit them. You will have to do a SWOT analysis on yourself. You need to show to your employers that you are able to do an introspection, and you are able to look at yourself from inside and see how is it that you are doing on this job. So you will have to say things like, for example, when you first started your job, what were your weaknesses? What is it that was difficult for you? What is it that you weren't able to do properly? How did you overcome this problem? What were the steps that you took in order to overcome these small problems that you had? What did you do? Were you successful? How do you know that you were successful? Right? And if there were things still that you didn't have time to do, what is your plan for the next year? How do you intend to improve yourself further the coming year? Okay, it may sound as if it's silly at this point, but it's something that the human resource department at these companies takes very seriously. Because if you're not able to evaluate yourself, يعني إذا ما بعرف أنا أغلاطي شو اللي عم بعمله صح وشو اللي عم بعمله غلط, and I don't have the probability to grow within this organization, right? And if I cannot see my mistakes, how am I going to improve, right? It cannot be all the time someone else telling me that you're doing this in the wrong way or you're doing this in the right way. It shouldn't be someone else's appraisal to see whether I'm working properly or not. So this is very, very important, okay? Now, what is performance? Right? A performance is when you ask yourself, how is it that you're doing in a certain course, on a certain job, exactly, or the company asks itself that as well, to see how are they performing. Okay, for example, if the company is asking itself how they're performing, they will have to inquire about a couple of things. How is the output quality? And what is the quality of the services they're providing or the products that they are making, right? What's the company profit? Of course, the profit has to increase from year to year. If it's decreasing, then there's probably something that's not going properly. What's the the first one was output quantity. How much are they producing? And the third one, output quality. The quality of the services or products that they are offering. Now for the individual, if you're asking performance appraisal questions on yourself, then you will see, then you will ask yourself, are you satisfied with what is it that you're doing? Okay, it's a big part of, and you have to be satisfied in order to work on yourself to improve. What's your productivity level? How much are you working? How is it that you are helping yourself towards professional development? Means what is it that you're learning along the way to help you become a better employee in this company that you're working in? Okay? Now, we remember in session 1 we said that reports, remember in chapter 1 we took the similarities and differences between essays and reports. And we said one of the main differences between essays and reports is the fact that essays sometimes can be subjective because you might insert your opinion in the way when you say your claim, when I give my opinion about a certain topic and then I provide facts to support my opinion. Whereas reports are usually dry. They're dry, they're very objective because decisions are to be taken based on your observation. So you cannot be personal in the report. You cannot say, I liked this employee. What is it that he did? We want to see what he did, not whether you like him or you don't like him, for example. Right? So the only instance where reports will be personal is when you're doing an appraisal performance. They have to be personal because they talk about you. So, بدي أحكي عن حالي. Obviously, I'm going to use the first pronoun. I'm talking about myself. I will use adjectives to describe what is it that I'm doing, how am I doing, how will I improve, and things like that. So, focus on individual reports. Individual performance is more personal, and therefore its writing style is different from much of what you have encountered so far in this course, which always emphasize a more impersonal and objective style. Writing may become personal for two reasons. The audience, and why is it that sometimes we can have reports that are more personal than impersonal? The audience is less formal and the writer wants a personal kind of relationship with them. Let's say you're giving a presentation to your colleagues. You don't need to be that informal, that formal, impersonal, because you're among friends, so you can be personal. Number 2, the subject matter the writer is dealing with is their personal experience. And on these three instances, when you're talking about yourself, you have to talk about your experience, so you have to be personal. In personal writing, the writer's voice or personality comes through in the words of the text more clearly than in objective and formal texts. One type of personal report is called a skills audit review report, which we will see more of in this session, when you evaluate your skills in a certain course. Okay? Alright, for example, here, okay, usually, you remember the first time we met, we talked about, yes? Okay? You remember when we first met, the first couple of weeks, we discussed the objectives of the course, what were the requirements of the course, what were you supposed to know by the end of the course. So these are the course objectives that you are familiar with. So let's say you are going to be asked to evaluate yourself on this course. كأنه عم بعمل SWOT analysis على حالي، بس عم ركز بس على strength وال weaknesses. يعني شو بعمل؟ بسأل حالي. It might be that the information we're going to read now is a bit sophisticated and complicated, but we'll try to simplify it to understand what is it that they're doing. أول شيء. You will ask yourself, like the example I gave at the beginning of this session, if you are asked to evaluate yourself at the end of an LB160 course or any other business course, بدي أسأل حالي. This is what I need to ask myself. My strength at the beginning of the course, what is it that I knew how to do very well before we even started the course? Okay? My weaknesses at the beginning of the course, what is it that I didn't know how to do or had problems with in the course? My strength now that the course is over. My weaknesses now if I still have some weaknesses. Okay? For example, this student, of course the answers will vary because this is very personal. And each one of us here, if we're asked to evaluate ourselves, each one will come up with a different answer. Based on the results of your midterm, you can already figure out what is it that you had the weakness in, and so on, right? For example, here the student who answered this exercise said, the strength that he had at the beginning of the course, identify and communicate potential solutions based on knowledge of business studies theory. He was already strong with this. He knew how to do this. Whereas the weaknesses, he had a weakness in communicate effectively in writing in a range of academic and workplace genres, showing recognition of audience and purpose. Means the student didn't know how to differentiate between writing in the workplace and writing in at university, and how to recognize the different audiences, and based on the audience change the tone of the writing. Okay? My strength now, and after finishing the course, what is it that the student mastered? Okay? This is some of the comments I wrote on the midterm exams for you. For the students who exhibited a very good knowledge of the SWOT analysis, for example, I said you have mastered the SWOT analysis, meaning that you have now all the skills needed in relation to the SWOT analysis. The student here now knows how to read and summarize written text materials. He can apply a critical perspective to my own and others' language use, communicate better in academic genres, which means that one of the weaknesses he had turned it into a strength. The weaknesses he still has, the weaknesses he was not able to overcome. Relate the communication skills needed for academic study to those needed in the workplace. Meaning he doesn't know how to transfer what he studied in the books to the workplace. Okay? For example, there is an interesting analysis or an answer written by a student. Should be interesting to read. Okay? If you open your workbooks to page 50, the resource book I mean, to page 50. Okay? Here there is a student who is doing a self-evaluation skills audit report, if you wish, at the end of one of the business courses. Let's say the LB160. For example, before I read this, you could say, at the beginning of the course, I had a problem with the cause-effect flow chart. I didn't know, or I had the difficulty in figuring out that the causes in a flow chart come first, but they might come later on in the text. They don't have to be at the beginning. Okay, how did you overcome this problem? Okay? You, miss, for example, you had a problem in this, right? You have to overcome this by reading more text and trying to do the flow chart for all of the text to figure out once and for all that the causes, you have to arrange them. They are not arranged in the text logically. They are arranged by how the author wants to tell them. Okay? For example, the student here, okay, here what is the question? It says, choose one of these skills and in a statement of not more than 500 words, explain what you did to improve in your chosen skill area, and which aspect of the course you had difficulty in. Analyze the effectiveness of your approach. Identify any work you could undertake to improve this area. I'm not going to read all of it, but the beginning of each paragraph already shows how the student has organized this. My greatest weakness is in using models and diagrams, and this was the skill with which I chose to work. The student had a problem with this. Unfortunately, and she is telling us the cause, why was she weak at this? Unfortunately, due to unforeseen time pressure, I was not able to work with the skill area as much as I had intended, but I have started to try to work with it more and intend to continue to do so. So, what was she weak at? The cause, and then she will say how she intends to improve, and what she did in order to improve. In order to improve with this skill, I first had to force myself to actually look at the models used in the course materials instead of just skimming over them, as I normally do, which is something that most of you do. I flipped the slides, right, instead of actually reading them and going over the exercises, which can create a lot of weaknesses that you think were weaknesses because you didn't actually apply all your skills in it. Okay? And then she goes on to say, although the strategy was a good beginning, but she encountered some problems and she wishes she had the chance to do other things to improve herself. Okay? Now, there is usually personal experience in business studies. Another personal skills evaluation report you will encounter in this session is a personal experience of a job you have had recently. And how can you evaluate yourself on a job? Course, it's something that we are doing, so you can ask yourself questions about your weaknesses and strengths. But what about in the workplace? What is it that you need to focus on? What are the qualities that I need to have, that I must exhibit, that I must show to my employer? Okay? So we're going to do this activity 3.3. The purpose is to study the job characteristics model in order to apply to a personal job experience. Okay, so we're going to read extract 3.2 in resource book 3. Let me see. 3.2, this is on page 39. Okay? It starts on page 39, 40, 41. Okay? And summarize the main features of the job characteristics model. Do this by filling in the gaps in the figure on the next slide. They've already highlighted them for us. This is what we need to fill. We need to fill the gaps here from the information on page 39, 40, 41. Okay? Now what does this describe? This is describing the qualities or the characteristics that you must exhibit on a certain job. And what is it expected of you to show in a certain job? You're working in a company, let's say. شو الكواليتيز اللي لازم يكون عندي اياهم انا؟ شو الكواليتيز اللي لازم يبين انه انا عندي اياهم؟ Okay? So, I will give you 5 to 10 minutes to try to read through this material and we'll come up with the answers. Okay, so these are the answers you identified from the resource book, page 39, 40, 41. These are the characteristics that I should exhibit in the workplace. What does it mean? I have 3 categories: core job characteristics, critical and psychological states of being, how you're feeling from inside, and the outcome of these 2. For example, number 1, skills variety, different skills and talents. There is no way you can be good at only one thing. Of course, this is your specialty, but you need to have more than one skill in a given job so that you can improve. Task identity. Job done from beginning to end, identifiable. In a job place, you need to know what is it that you're responsible for. Okay? You need to know what is it that you're doing from beginning to end to actually appreciate what you're doing, to see the results, to feel that you're actually doing something. Because if I'm only doing a small part وما بعرف انجح هي لشو لوين بتودي فيني ما احس حالي a part of this company انه شو عم بعمل انا جيت ما جيت نفس الشيء, right? But if you identify your work from beginning to end, you feel that you are an integral part of the job. Autonomy, task, significance, impact of job on people's lives. To feel the importance of my work, I need to see how is it affecting other people. Autonomy, employee exercises choice. Unfortunately, a lot of workplaces don't give a lot of autonomy to the employees. But at least you should be able to decide, for example, what's the time that I can eat my lunch? Okay? If there is a meeting, maybe you can vote that the meeting date be changed to another date. نغير الساعة. Some autonomy means that you have the right to exercise your freedom. Feedback from job. Effectiveness on job reflected clearly in outcomes. You shouldn't wait for your boss or your manager or your head of division to tell you you're doing a very good job. No. أنتوا لازم النتيجة شغلكم تعرف إذا you're doing a good job or not. Right? If you have the first three skills, they will make you feel experienced. They will make you feel experienced. You will experience meaningfulness of the work. Right? And when you have autonomy, you will feel responsible for the outcome. ناخذ مسؤولية بنصير نتحمل المسؤولية ما بقى نكمل مسؤولية لحدا تاني. Feedback from the job. It's important to know, يعني when you know that you're doing well from the result of your work, you will have knowledge of results of work activities. يعني my self-esteem, my opinion of myself, of my abilities is no longer related to what people are telling me. I need to evaluate my own self. If I have the first three skills and it creates this psychological state in me, I will have high intrinsic motivation. I will feel motivated. Okay, motivation is very important to continuing a job. When I have autonomy and I experience responsibility, I will have high job satisfaction. I will be satisfied at work. And you know, the more the employee is satisfied, the better he will perform, the more results we will get. When you have feedback from your job and you know the result of your work activities from your own self, you will be very effective at work, and you will be sought. People will search for you to make sure everything is going correctly. Okay? So, if you still are not in the work field, still don't have certain jobs, or you have smaller jobs that don't require all of these things, I hope that once you graduate, you start working and you will experience these. Okay? So, self-evaluation reports for the organization. And when you are writing an evaluation for yourself at work, remember we said after the 3 months of probation. In this section, you will concentrate on a personal type of self-evaluation report, which is an individual skills evaluation report. Students who have been auditing their progress in this course can now combine their reviews and assess their progress in both the key skills, language, and professional skills business. But the application is on the course. So how do we train you to actually do things at work? When you train, we will train on the material that we have, and then you can apply to the workplace once you start working. Skills evaluation reports often have a problem solution pattern. ما بتشوفوا situation شو الويكنس تبعي يعني شو البروبلم طيب شو الكوست تبعه شو السولوشن شو الايفالويشن. The problem is the absence of a skill or a weakness the student has. The solution is the solution is the development of the skill. The evaluation is an account of how effective the student's development has been. as all these are claims made by the writer or the self-reviewer, they need to be supported by evidence to become persuasive. The next slide will show this process in a figure here. If you are doing a self-evaluation on yourself, you will ask yourself the following questions. أول شيء situation. تسألوا حالكم. What is my weakness? Or what skill don't I know how to do? What evidence do I have that I don't know how to do this? Problem. What evidence? What reason? The cause. Okay? You can figure out what's the cause of why is it that you have a weakness. I didn't read the material enough. I didn't do the exercises. Solution. What is the solution I chose? How was it? How successful was it? What evidence do I have? Evaluation. قدرت أنجح فيها ولا ما قدرت أنجح فيها? Basically, right? For example, if you said, I didn't know how to do the cause effect, I had a problem, I worked on it, okay? And then I managed to get a full score on the midterm. This is a perfect evaluation that you were successful in overcoming your weakness. Okay? Alright, so the last slide, self-evaluation reports are personal. They are about your experience. However, they are also public documents written for someone else to read. In this case, a tutor, أكيد, and this is the first place you practice. For that reason, they need to be organized and expressed in ways that will influence the audience. They need to use evidence convincingly. Okay? Alright, so this is the end of session 3. We will move to session 4 in a minute. For the final, we have all the 3 books. Okay, so let's start with session 4. Please, let's start with session 4, email communication in the workplace. Okay? Now, before we focus on the email communication in the workplace, at the beginning they ask us what are the different ways that we can communicate in the workplace other than the email. What do you think? How are the ways we communicate in the workplace? We use the telephone, right? To talk to each other. What else?
Meeting.
Very good, meetings. Other than the email. Email, because nowadays email has become one of the most used. WhatsApp is still not professionally accepted, but we are using it, right? But in the workplace, there are a few types of communication that we are used to using. Like you said, the meeting, telephone, faxes. Now with the internet and so on, we're using faxes less, but still we're using them. Okay, so this can be one of the questions you can be asked. What are the different ways of communicating in the workplace? Although the chapter focuses on emails, but the first 2 slides give us all the ways of communication that take place in the workplace. Okay, so it can be a potential question. What are the ways of communicating in the workplace? People communicate in the workplace both internally and externally. Of course, you need to communicate with your colleagues inside the work and with other employees from other companies. There are many ways in which they communicate, through having meetings face-to-face, by letters, faxes, phone calls, and of course emails. In the examples you gave me, we forgot the letters because they're becoming obsolete. And rarely anyone is using letters anymore, right? With the faxes, with the emails, but still letters hold a very professional place in the workplace. Okay? The best way is to use a combination of methods based on what the situation calls for. Meaning إنه ما في وحدة أحسن من الثانية، وحدة فينا نستعملها كل الوقت محل الثانية. Depending on the situation, we'll have to choose which one is the best one. Meetings, for example. Meetings are effective for starting and building relationships. You know, when you want to be hired, You have a meeting. Exactly, there's an interview. No one's going to hire you over the phone. Of course, there are millions of jobs, but more professional ones, they require a meeting. The participants subconsciously use verbal and auditory cues and facial expressions, tone of voice, and physical distance. All of this describe about the person's character. How firm is your handshake? How close or far you're sitting from the person you're talking with? What's the tone of your voice? The expressions on your face? To get feedback on others' reactions. That's why face-to-face meetings are more appropriate when dealing with complex issues, persuading, discussing performance, raising matters of conflict, especially when there is conflict. Okay? Avoid trying to fix this conflict through email. بدل email رايح email جاي. Okay? And there is more often misunderstanding in the email than through face-to-face. Face-to-face, you can probably solve the problem in 10 minutes, half an hour. If you're going to do it in the email, it's going to take weeks. Because you will say, you used that word, you said that, I understood it in this way. So there is a place and time for different types of communication. The telephone. The telephone is good when a meeting is not possible. When we cannot conduct a meeting, okay, they are good to maintain a good working relationship and to make arrangements. More and more people are conducting interviews through Skype first, especially if you're going to work abroad. They do a Skype interview with you because getting you there physically is more difficult, right? No, they should have added Skype on this list because now they're doing conference calls on Skype. Different people from different countries, right? They sit together. It's as if they are in the same room. Now, letters. Letters are good to initiate business contact because they are not immediately intrusive, meaning a letter sits on your desk whenever you have time, you open it. It's not like an email. It's in front of you, right? You get it in your inbox. They can also be used to transmit paper documents which can be filed among the recipient's records. They carry a feeling of sincerity. Usually when there are professional things that need to be signed, although we have signatures that can be sent through the email as well, but signatures, hard copy signatures are still required on many pieces of documents, especially when you sign a contract, for example. Right? To validate that contract, they need an actual signature, not one that was done over the internet. Okay, faxes are used in issue of commitment and confidentiality. When you want on the spot a paper to be signed, you send it by fax. The person signs it and sends it back to you. Although they are now much less used than they were used, let's say, 20 years ago. With the improvement of the internet, it has taken over all other forms of communication. So, emails. Emails have become one of the most dependent on and effective methods of communication in the workplace. Let us look at the benefits and problems of email communication. You will tell me. Now, from now on, when I say email, we will immediately consider it email communication in the workplace. Okay? We're not talking about email communication among friends. It will take a completely different aspect. Okay? We're completely free to talk the way we want with our friends. Okay? But in an actual workplace. Let's say we were to brainstorm a little bit about the benefits and problems of email communication in the workplace. What do you think could be some of the advantages of email communication?
Not consuming time.
They don't consume time in the sense that you can send them very easily, fast, right?
You can open another one.
Yeah, you can have a reference of all the emails in your inbox, for example, everything that was sent and received. It's a good place to file all the documents. What could be some of the advantages as well for email communication?
Has no cost.
Very good, it's cheap. Except for the internet fees that you're paying. You don't pay for every single email transaction that you're doing, right? It's not like sending a letter. You need stamps, you need days, probably weeks for the letter to get to another country, right? What else? Can you think of any other advantages for the email? We said it's cheap, it's fast, it's convenient, means I can check my email from whenever, right? From the office, from work, my phones nowadays, right? It's available everywhere. Okay? Alright, good.
It can still faster. We have always a record of it.
Exactly. We gave this idea as well that we keep record of all the emails that we've sent and received in one certain place. It's a good filing system as well. Okay? Now what do you think could be some of the problems? And please don't say internet connection. That's a local problem.
Whenever
Okay.
you send the email, you cannot delete.
Very good. Once you send the email, it's sent. I sent it by mistake, there was something wrong in it, خلاص, it's sent, it's too late. Right? So you should think twice before you press send. Especially, sometimes mistakes happen in the workplace. You're trying to forward the email to someone and you put someone else's name. The name of the person you didn't want to see the email. Right? And it's gone. You cannot bring it back. That could be an inconvenience, a disadvantage. What else?
Many people can see and it's not private.
It's not private in the sense that, very good, because especially if you have a desk and you're sharing an office, people can pass by your computer from behind and they can peek a look at your screen and see what you're writing. It's a very serious problem. Also, in a workplace, you have to be very careful. If you're using the email of the workplace, you're not the only person who has access to it, even if you are the one who chose the password. The administrator, right, can access it. Of course, it's unethical to access it, right? They don't have the right to access it, but still can be accessed. That's why never leave personal things in your workplace emails. Okay? You have to be careful. What else could be a disadvantage? Okay, now let's see what they have given us as answers. Benefits. Most of them you've already said them. Quick and easy to use. Right? Can be cost effective, cheap. Flexible, could be sent to many people at once. Right? You can forward it to 20 people, send it to CC, VC, you can send it to 100 people. Now, it's not like a letter. If you want to send a letter to 10 people, you have to have 10 copies sent different 10 times. Useful way of keeping a record, like you said. Independent of time zones. It's not like when I want to call someone in Australia, I have to check what time it is, right? Maybe it's in the middle of the night. I send my email whenever it's convenient to me, and whenever that person is at work, we'll read it. No need, you're not bothering anyone. Now the problems. Potentially intrusive, meaning they can be disturbing and pushy. And if I want to bother someone and I send them 10 emails per day, I can be very annoying, right? So it can be intrusive. تتدخل بحياتنا يعني. It creates an unhealthy atmosphere. Not always private, like you said. People can pass by and check your email. May not be read immediately. And this is not another problem we didn't say. You can send an email, it gets there instantaneously, but you have no guarantee that the person is going to read it on the spot. Right? No guarantee of response. You send an email, but who says you're going to get a reply? Okay? Potential of offending the recipient if not carefully written. يعني فيني أذي مشاعر الشخص اللي عم بيقرأ، right? Offending هين الشخص يعني بلا ما أكون أنا قاصدة إنه أعمل هالشغلة. Words, written words have to be very well taken care of, very well thought of before you send them. Manage a large number can be time consuming, right? If a person gets 50, 60 emails per day, that's a lot. To read all of those and answer to everyone, it's time consuming. Takes time. Overuse can lead to isolation, meaning if I conduct all my business through email, then I'm not going to see anyone's face anymore. I'm going to become isolated, as if I'm living on an island or by myself. Okay? There should always be, even if you conduct all your business online, should try to make an effort to meet with your employees or with the people you're working with at least once in a while to create this personal feeling. Alright? Now these were the ideas that we came up with from the brainstorming. Now these are the ones that have been written out, explained. Each one is explained in a clearer sentence. Now this is very important. Many times students have been asked about the benefits and problems of email communication, which is on this slide, slide 8. Okay? And I please do urge you not to invent things from your mind. You can add your own knowledge, of course, but don't say for the problems there is no internet connection. Okay? Because this is not the type of problem we're talking about. We're not talking about technical problems. We're talking about problems that the email can create in the workplace, not the lack of internet or things like that. Okay, so benefits. They are quick and easy to use. They are independent of time zones and geographical distances. بثانية في نبعتها anywhere around the world. They are cost effective, cheap, cost little. They are flexible and can be sent to many people at the same time. And they provide a useful way of keeping record of the communication. Simple, right? They are things, logical things that you have encountered, right? So even if you read them a couple of times, I'm sure you can remember this information. Now the problems or the disadvantages. They can be intrusive, like we said. One cannot control the emails one gets and from whom, especially the content of the communication, whether it is desired or it crosses the line. And I need to open an email, read it. After I read it, will I see whether it's offensive or not? بكون قريتها already. So بكون already هنتني إذا خلصت قريتها. Right? So it can interfere with someone's life and workplace. They may not always be private. Company emails can be read by mistake by others, by other people or seen as co-workers walk by or even forwarded by mistake. أكبر غلطة بتصير to forward it by mistake. Okay? They may not be read immediately and there is no guarantee of a response. Right? Like when I ask you, when you want to send me an email, give me some time to reply. Okay? You cannot reply immediately. There is always the potential of the message not being well understood or even offensive if not written carefully. So that's why talking to someone face-to-face, the F to F, it's face-to-face, ensures that there are no misunderstandings in this case. Okay? Especially when the topic of the email is very delicate. I want to hire someone, I want to fire someone, I want to talk about the problem, better conduct it face-to-face. They are time-consuming as they tend to take a lot of time to manage reading and responding. They can reduce face-to-face communication to a degree it becomes unhealthy and ineffective for the business. Okay, we already discussed this point. Okay, there is more information. These points are elaborated more on pages 89 to 91 in the book. Okay, but this is the summary of the main points that you need to know. The benefits and problems of email communication. Now, there are, for example, if I remember correctly, last semester in the final, instead of asking what are the benefits of and problems of email communication, they asked what are the tips for writing emails. Tips يعني نصايح صغيرة, small advice. Okay? مثلا already اللي حكينا عنها نحن. Think before you press send. Right? You mentioned this. You said that once I send it, it's gone. There is no way you can retrieve it. You cannot bring it back. It's already in the inbox of the other person. Too late. Be aware that the reader may be reading excuse me. Be aware that the reader may be reading the email at a later date and that the resulting action may take place even later if at all. Meaning, you send the email on Monday, for example, and you were expecting an answer Monday evening, but you don't have a guarantee. And you have to give the person some time to reply. We're talking about workplace email communication, not friendship communication. And when I want someone to do something, let's say you work in a company and you're reminding the members or the employees of the other department that there is a report due on Thursday. There's no point if I remind them Wednesday evening and a report due Thursday morning. Maybe they weren't in the office to read it. Too late. It would be much better if I send it on Monday. It would be much better if I send it on Monday, okay? And in my email, remind them that there is a report that is due on Thursday, which means I have given them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to finish the work necessary to hand in the report. The third point, design your email so that they contain appropriate time frames for action and ideally to elicit confirmation that the action will take place. These two are related. Meaning you have to avoid vague words. Soon, later, too soon, too later. I need a specific date. 2 days later, 5 days later, on Tuesday, on Friday. Give a time frame. And to make sure that the person has read the email, ask for a confirmation. Please reply back to me when you get this email. تأكد انه هذا الشخص قرأ الايميل وعرف شو بده يعمل, right? Be prepared to use other forms of communication to follow up or to address in parallel the issue that you're writing about. Maybe I sent an email Monday about the same report that is due on Thursday. Maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday I call the people I sent the email to just to make sure that everything's still on track. You cannot consider once you send an email it's sacred. There are other ways that you need to address the same issue. Avoid using email if you have difficult matters to talk about and when the subtlety of how the recipient is reacting is important. مثل ما قلنا, if we are dealing with a problem face to face أحسن, right? I can see the person's facial expression, نقص من misunderstanding. Exactly, and it's far more effective meeting someone face to face. Yeah, you can go out for coffee and fix the problem between colleagues instead of fighting each other in the email, which can go on forever. The last point here, design your email so that you clearly signal important shifts in point of view or feeling by starting a new paragraph and making such shifts explicit. Like designing any other piece of writing, designing an email, you need to design it. Introduction لحال, إذا عم بحكي عن 3 أفكار كل وحدة لحالها, تبين إن هي فكرة, this is number 1, number 2, number 3, it's clear. As we will see the design of the essay we will look at the design of the email in a while as well. Okay? Now what we're going to do in this exercise, activity 4.3 page 92, but actually you need the you need the resource book. In the resource book, just let me see which page it is. Yes, page 63. Page 63. We're going to read these 2 email communications and we will talk about some of the differences and similarities that they have. Okay? Already, by looking at them, right? And we will have to figure out which one is a friendly email communication, which one is a professional email communication. Okay? And I think it will be easy to figure out, right? Miss, can you read the first one for us that starts with high Pete? 4.1, yes.
Just heard about your promotion. Congratulations. I expect we will see you in a fancy car soon. Make sure you don't get too big for your boots and park it in the booth space. I'm busy working on the revision of the document you sent. Hope to have it ready soon. Any urgency? See you later, Adam.
Okay, thank you. So immediately, even without having read the second one, what do you think about this one? Is it friendly or professional?
Friendly.
It looks friendly, right? Because it says, hi Pete, see you later, right?
Yes.
And look at the sentences. They are fragments. Just heard about your promotion. Where's the subject of this sentence? It's supposed to be I just heard about your promotion, right? And this is common for friendly conversations, right? Salam, congratulations. It's one word. Not I am offering my congratulations to you. Congratulations. It's a fragment. And then there is a very, if these people were not friends, this remark will be very offensive. He says, I expect we'll see you in a fancy car soon. يعني أخذت promotion هلا بدنا نشوفك بسيارة فخمة. وشو بيقول له كمان make sure you don't get too big for your boots and park in the boss's space. شنو تشوف حالك وتصف بالغلط محل البوس. Right? So هالشخصين اللي عم بيحكوا مع بعض زمانهم friends هيدي كتير offensive. يعني أنا ما بحق لي أقول لحدا إذا أخذ promotion ولا لا وشو بده يعمل بالpromotion تبعه. Right? كمان في هون fragment. It says hope to have it ready soon. I hope to have it ready soon. كمان أي soon. Soon يعني شو؟ Soon أي متى؟ طب ما أنا بدي specific dates. Soon 2 days later. I'll finish it on Thursday. I'll finish it on Friday. When? Any urgency? هو قصده يقول is there any urgency and do you need it urgently? Fragment. See you later. I don't finish a professional email with a closing statement, see you later. Right? And usually, I don't just say my first name, family name, if it's a professional email. Alright? Now, on the contrary, you'll see the second one, how it's written. Miss, can you read the second one for us? It starts with Dear Peter.
Dear Peter, thank you for sending me the report on the telecoms document for revision. I am pleased to inform you that you have started work on the revision and that we fully expect to be able to send it to you by the end of the week. In our earlier discussions, you mentioned that you were facing some tight deadlines. In view of this, it may be possible for us to send the revised version to you before the agreed deadline of Friday. If you would like us to do this, please let me know as soon as possible and I will take the necessary steps to make sure that it is completed and returned to you on Thursday. Should this not be necessary, we will make sure that you receive the document on Friday. Finally, I understand from the newsletter that you have received a promotion. I would like to take this opportunity to offer you my congratulations. I wish you every success in your new position. I look forward to hearing from you if you decide the report is needed on the Thursday. Best wishes, Adam Owens.
Okay, you can see the big difference between the first and second email. Small things. Hi Pete, sorry, dear Peter. Pete is abbreviation for Peter. تغنيج Peter, yeah, right? And then look at how he starts his professional email. He says, thank you for sending me the report on the telecoms document for revision. لأنه هو عم برد على الإيميل. هيدا الشخص already بعت له email about the telecoms document that needs to be revised. He says, he is telling him how things are going on this report, right? He discusses everything. Only in the last paragraph does he say, finally, I understand from the newsletter that you have received the promotion. كمان ذاكر له من وين عرف انه هو عنده بروموشن، مش من انه حكي عالم، لا كان في نيوزلتر ميمو بالشركه كلهم عارفين مين عنده بروموشن. Look at the way he says congratulations. He says, I would like to take this opportunity to offer you my congratulations. Very professional. He ends it in a very professional way. He says, I look forward to hearing from you if you decide the report is needed on Thursday. حدد الدate. Thursday. هونيك قايل soon.
See you later.
هونيك قايل see you later. هون best wishes. Adam صارت Adam Owen Smith. Name, family name. Okay? So, although both emails have a similar basic structure, each one has a distinctive style. مع انه اثنيناتهم basically عم يحكوا عن نفس الشيء, right? بس style is different. The style reflects the relationship between the sender and the recipient. دغري من أول وحدة عرفنا إنه friends, right? Whereas in the second one, it's obvious that it is a formal communication. Text 4.1 is more like a personal email, since it is informal in style. This is evident in its opening line, Hi Pete, and the fact that the sender signs off with just his first name. The text also includes incomplete sentences, like we said, fragments. Just heard about your promotion, congratulations, and so on, which are a feature of personal messages. In contrast, text 4.2 is more formal and impersonal. This is exemplified by the greeting and sign of Dear Peter, best wishes, and the full name of the sender at the end, مثل ما we explained. Not only is the text longer, but its sentences are more complex, which is a sign of professional communication. He says, I am pleased to inform you, in view of this, نظرا لهالموضوع يعني, should this be necessary, إذا اضطرينا نعمل هيك, I would like to take this opportunity to offer you my congratulations. I look forward to hearing from you. Very professional. Okay? So, you can be asked to compare these two email communications, right? And say, what is the style of each and how did you know? Then you will have to refer to the opening line, to the closing line, to the sentences, to the words, to the content. Okay? Now, styles and cross-culture communication. Meaning, how is it that I can minimize offending someone in my email communication? Okay? Of course, we're talking about professional email communication. To minimize the possibility of offending someone by mistake, I need to be aware of the different cultures that exist around the world. Not only around the world, in my own company as well, there might be different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures that are working, and everybody needs to respect everyone else's background. Okay, so basically, there have been two types of cultures that are identified in general, if we want to generalize. There is the individualist culture, which idealizes the person, the independence of the person. These are usually cultures of the West, let's say the US, Europe, Australia. And the collectivist cultures are more of cultures that prize the group more than the individual. Okay? These cultures are more of the East. Eastern cultures, like we could consider Japan, Africa, and the Arab world, fall into this category. So, the impact of globalization and online communication has increased the need to be sensitive to cultural diversity. The word cultural diversity is very important. It is most likely that a range of different cultures will be presented within the workplace, community, and other groups that you are involved in too. Broadly speaking, two main types of cultures have been identified. These are referred to as individualist and collectivist. مثل ما قلنا, most Europeans, Australian and North American countries are considered to have an individualist culture, while Asian, African countries, of course the Arab world as well, are examples of collectivist cultures. شو الqualities تبع each culture? They are briefly highlighted here. Okay? Individual cultures value personal beliefs. شو الشخص هو بيآمن. Rights, حقوق and independence. Central to business communication and in individual cultures are directness and transparency. You have to be very direct and very transparent. Transparent means I shouldn't have another agenda on my mind when I'm talking to this person. Written words are given high importance in this environment. Everything needs to be signed and sealed to agree on. إذا بدنا نتفق على شيء بدنا نمضي. Okay? Whereas in contrast, collectivist cultures are typified by group values and loyalty, interdependence and indirectness. يعني منحور ومندور على الموضوع قبل ما نبلش بصلب الموضوع. Right? نسأل عن عائلة وسليلة وكل شيء قبل ما نبلش نعمل business. In such cultures, the maintenance of trusting relationship is considered more important than business transactions. Furthermore, verbal agreements and non-verbal behaviors are given more significance than written agreements. هون الاتفاق فيه يكون شفهي كمان، مش ضروري كل شيء ينمضى. English has largely become the lingua franca. It means the first language that everyone uses in communication, or for business communication across languages and cultures. However, even when communicating in the same language, it is important to be aware of the values, beliefs, and preferences of the parties involved. Contact with people in a collective culture is likely to require a more tactful and considerate choice of language. People in the collectivist culture get offended faster. يعني very delicate إذا بدي أتعامل مع collectivist culture اتأكد إن أنا ما عم هين حدا بالإيميل تبعي. Okay? Now this is very important. We don't. This chapter is not very long, nor is it very difficult. It's very simple. The second important thing that we will take in this session is the organization of the workplace email. يعني شو sections اللي المفروض يكونوا بالemail communication. All in all, the email communication should have 9 sections. Okay, there are 9. We'll read each one and explain it, but basically, okay. Well, I think there was an email here. For example, this is an email, and these are the 9 parts that we will identify. Starting from the subject. Okay? What does the subject mean? You know the subject of the email, before you start writing the email, when you put the address of the person, and then there's the line that says subject. هيدا أول شيء بتبين عند الشخص, right? بالemail. It's important never to leave it empty. Okay? A clear subject line. If there is more than one topic, mention both briefly in the subject heading. Never leave it empty, and update it if the communication purpose or topic is modified at any point. خاصة إذا عاملين forward مليون مرة، بمحي الفورورد إذا تغير الموضوع، برجع بكتب التوبيك عن أول وجديد. Okay? إذا في شغلتين عم بحكي عنهم بكتبهم اثنيناتهم، مثلا meeting on Saturday 5/1 and final. You will immediately know that in this email we're talking about the meeting and we're talking about the final. Okay? Salutation. This is where you say dear كذا. Be courteous, be polite. Address the person with the correct and proper title. If you know the title of the person, are they a doctor, Mr., Mrs., Miss, whatever, you address them properly. Dear Mr. Salim, for example. An introduction, like any piece of writing we do, from the smallest paragraph to the longest essay, introduction is very important. It sets the actual, it tells what the email is going to be about, right? Introduction. In the first couple of lines, say what is the topic in the message, its purpose, 3 important things. Say what the topic is the purpose and how it relates to previous messages between you and the recipient of that company. Now later on there is an exercise where they have given us the introductions of emails and we have to see what is wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. نقدر نرجع نظبطهم. بدنا نعرف انه الانترودكشن لها ثلاث purpose. To give the topic of what we're talking about, the purpose, and how does it relate to any previous communication that we had. Okay? The main message where I discuss يعني the main body paragraphs is يفهم بس مش ضروري يكونوا paragraphs هون فيهم يكونوا جمل right? Main message. Make sure that you separate the issues you will be discussing in the email. يعني إذا أنا قلت بدي أحكي عن 3 أشياء 3 times I go to a new line. Right? Or I use bullet points 1, 2, 3 A, B, C. Indicate clearly using numbers and paragraph breaks where old ideas, issues end and new ones begin. Action statements. If you require your recipient to do something in the email, so you put this in the action statement part. يعني إذا أنا عم بطلب حدا يعمل شيء. Okay? Action statements. Workplace emails are about asking people to do something or delivering something that is done by you. So they need to contain action statements, especially when you want to ask someone to deliver a task by a certain date. You need to make sure to ask them politely yet firmly. For example, please make sure to return the questionnaire by this Saturday. مش return the questionnaire by this Saturday. It's more like giving a command. كان عم بعطي أمر لحدا. So بقول, could you please do so and so in this week? In one word, make it clear what action is being asked of them and what is the timeline in which they need to do it. If no action is required, tell them that as well. Okay? يعني if you're telling them هلا ما تعملوا شيء بس ارجع ابعت ايميل ترجعوا تبعتوا لي المعلومات, you have to tell them this as well. Closing statement. It's the part where you say looking forward to see you again or something like that. It is very helpful if your reader feels you have not ended your message abruptly, suddenly يعني كأنه أنا عم سكر التليفون بلا ما أقول باي لحدا يعني نفس المعنى. So a closing statement that shows kindness puts people in a better mood and creates a better working relationship. Say, for example, I look forward to seeing you at the meeting, or thank you in advance for your cooperation, or I hope you agree with me. I thank you for considering my proposal. Okay? This puts everyone in a better mood. Farewell statement is when you say best wishes, kind regards, right? Best way to end an email is to use the following: best regards, best wishes, kind regards, yours sincerely. Okay? Use them. Your name in a formal setting, use your full name, family name. Contact details. You know, some businesses this is attached to the email. آخر شيء بتجي كattachment يعني اسم الشخص وين بيشتغل, رقم التليفون, أي department بيشتغل فيه and so on. Contact details include your job title, phone number if appropriate, address, etc. Let them know how best to contact you. Okay? If this was not clear, which I think it's very clear, there's more information on pages 93 and 94 in the book. Now we have this one. So this is a very common question. They can ask you, what are the parts needed in an email? There are 9. A clear subject line, salutation, introduction, main message, action statements, closing statements, farewell statement, name, contact detail. 9. Okay? Here they've given us an email. What they're asking us to identify the parts of this email. They've helped us with the first one. Subject, new invoice and proposal has subject. Dear Christy, شو?
Salutation.
Salutation. Right? طيب شو بدها تكون هون؟
Introduction.
Introduction. Okay? Based on the introduction, right? It says, thank you for your message confirming receipt of our invoices. On Monday, I sent you another invoice for the work done for Mr. Evans, together with a proposal for Mr. Lee. I wondered if I could ask you 2 favors in relation to these. So automatically, 2 paragraphs, 2 main messages, right? So, firstly, secondly, بدهم يكونوا main message. Followed by action statement. He's asking something here. He says, please, could you let me know whether you have been successful with regards to these 2 issues? Ideally by the end of today. I will try to call you at about 4:30 p.m. if I haven't heard from you by then. Closing statement. Thank you in advance for your help. Farewell statement. Best wishes. Name, Abigail Walker. Contact details. Who is Abigail Walker? Head of Finance, Myers Building and Contracting, telephone, extension, office extension, and so on. Right? Very simple exercise, and you have the answers. What you can be given, for example, you can be given this email, but instead of just writing the answers next to it, you might have to write the answers in the form of an essay. Then you have to copy. So subject, hey. Salutation, hey. Introduction, main message, and so on. Okay? You notice here that they have mentioned one more time what are the 3 parts needed in an introduction. Relating to previous contact, topic, purpose of the message. 3 things. We need that in order to solve these last 2 exercises. What they have given us here is introductions of emails only. Not the entire email, not the salutation, but the introduction. We have to figure out what's wrong with them. For example, the first one, here's my report. What's wrong with it? If I'm writing an email and I say, here's my report.
No salutation.
هي الانترودكشن هي اصلا يعني يمكن في salutation فوق. إذا أنتم لقيتوا هالإيميل شو بتسألوا حالكم؟ أي report automatically, right? You remember we said the introduction has to relate to previous message, topic, purpose. Meaning أنا عشو عم رد؟ عن شو عم نحكي؟ هذا الموضوع اللي عم. The topic we're talking about, where did we talk about it before? On the telephone, in a previous email, in a meeting, right? Where did you ask me for your report? If I'm sending a report, you must have asked for the report. When did you ask me for this report, right? Why am I sending this report? So, relating to previous contact, topic, purpose, ناقصين. ثلاثتهم ناقصين. Right? Now look at the second one. Thank you for your email of early last week in which you asked me to contact you about the schedule for the new ABC training program. I would like now to send you a provisional timetable. At the first look, it looks very well written. There's a tiny little mistake that we did not discuss, so you might not be able to find it. When you shouldn't take 1 week to reply to someone's email. 1 week, 7 days, 8 days is a long time. There must be a reason for why you're so late in replying to someone's email. So it would be more professional if you mention the reason why you are late. For example, here he says, thank you for the email of early last week. I apologize for not being able to reply sooner due to sickness, مثلا, right? Or due to travel, maybe he was traveling. This is what's missing in this one. C. You asked me to explain the fees billed to you recently and to draw up a proposal for our accounting work for next year.
I didn't mention what...
No previous, very good. No previous contact. What bills? When did I ask you for the bills? Right? I said you asked me to explain the fees. When did I ask you? You can say, reference to our previous email. As you asked me in the meeting 2 days ago, right? On the telephone, where did we talk about this? Right? And you have the answers already written. Now, for example, look at the email D, who apologizes. He says, I apologize for my late reply to your email of last week due to illness. بس مكمل introduction. we have to figure out what's wrong with the rest of the introduction. The additional inputs have now been entered under section 4CB. We have now entered no, but we are not sure whether this meant you wished for your details to be released to other interested parties or not. Could you please clarify what you meant by the answer? What's wrong with this introduction? Remember, introduction relates to previous contact, topic, purpose. What did this introduction do? So much detail, right? He went into the details. He went into the main message. This should have been only highlighted. The discussion should have been left for the main message. Email E. The new regulations for early retirement pensions came into effect on January 1, 2006. These regulations restrict certain tax breaks for early retirement schemes.
Not related.
Previous contact. And why are you sending me the retirement pension plans? Did I ask for them? Is this an insurance company? Is this my company? What is it that is happening here? Right? When did I ask for them? Now, the last one is of the most importance to me, at least, because it's something that we do most often and we have no idea why it's completely useless. Most of the times we start our email by saying, we would like to inform you of the following. سطحيا هيك ما مبين انه فيها شيء غلط. Very polite, right? It says we would like to inform you of the following. Already, what's the purpose of the introduction? Previous contact, purpose, topic. Already in the introduction, I am going to say what I want to say. So there is no point to say we would like to inform you of the following. I'm already informing you of the following. So this sentence is redundant. Redundant, it means when you're repeating yourself for no particular point. So better not start with this. Immediately start with your introduction. Okay? So these are the important information related to the email communication. Alright? We're going to stop here. Next week we'll continue the grammar section from this page and we will cover chapters 5 and 6. Chapter 5 is a bit long. We might need to leave chapter 6 for the week after. Okay? Do you have any questions?
No.